The late afternoon sun dappled through the oak leaves, painting shifting patterns on the forest floor. Lily, a whirlwind of elbows and knees, ducked beneath a low-hanging branch, her laughter echoing. Max, a sleek German shepherd, with eyes like melted chocolate, bounded ahead, his tail a blurry flag of joy. He skidded to a halt, nose to the ground, before letting out a playful bark, inviting her to chase. Their game was an intricate dance of pursuit and evade, a silent language understood only by them. Max was more than a pet. He was her shadow, her confidant, and, ever since Dad vanished, her staunchest protector. A whole year since Dad's booming laugh last filled their small cottage. Lily remembered the morning with chilling clarity. The hurried goodbye kiss, the faint scent of his pipe tobacco lingering in the air, his promise to be back by supper. He'd gone to check the old mill, an abandoned relic of the town's past, and never returned. The police had searched, Max had tracked for days, but the forest had swallowed him whole, leaving only a gaping hole in Lily's world. Her throat tightened, a familiar ache. Max nudged her hand with his wet nose, sensing her shift in mood, and she scratched behind his ears, finding comfort in his warmth. They were nearing the forgotten path to the mill, a place Lily usually avoided. But today, Max seemed drawn to it, his ears pricked, a low growl rumbling in his chest. He stopped abruptly near a tangle of thorny bushes, sniffing intently at the damp earth. Lily peered over his shoulder. Nestled amongst the fallen leaves, glinting like a tiny misplaced star, was a button. Not an ordinary button, but one crafted from an unfamiliar iridescent metal, cold and smooth beneath her fingertips. It had a strange, almost alien symbol etched into its surface. It was unlike anything she'd ever seen. And a prickle of unease, mixed with a thrill of discovery, ran down her spine. Max let out a soft whine, his gaze fixed on the mill, a silent, weighty question hanging in the air. The doorbell's insistent chime startled Lily from her breakfast. Max, ever vigilant, let out a low rumble from beneath the kitchen table. Through the frosted glass, a squat, shadowy figure loomed. Opening the door revealed Mr. Grumbles, his usual scowl etched deeper into his florid face. His eyes, small and beady, darted around the entryway, avoiding Lily's direct gaze. "Still here, girl," he grumbled, his voice like gravel. "Your father's gone, you know. Disappeared without a trace." He paused, a strange glint in his eye. "It's time you faced facts. This house, it's too much for a child. I could take it off your hands. A fair price, of course. For your own good." Lily's stomach churned, not from hunger, but from a cold dread. "My dad isn't gone," she stated, her voice surprisingly steady. "And this is our home." Max nudged her hand, a silent reassurance. Mr. Grumbles scoffed. "Stubborn, just like him. Think about it. A fresh start. The house is old, needs a lot of work. I'd be doing you a favor." He gestured vaguely towards the peeling paint on the porch. The air around him felt heavy, thick with something unsettling. After he finally lumbered off, leaving behind a faint scent of stale tobacco, Lily turned to Max. "Did you see his eyes, Max? He looked excited almost when he talked about Dad being gone." Max whined softly, pressing his head against her leg. "And why does he suddenly want to buy our house? He's never cared about us before." The afternoon sun, usually a comfort, now cast long, eerie shadows across the living room floor. A low, guttural rumble started in Max's chest, growing into a fierce snarl as Mr. Grumbles shuffled past the picket fence. The man, a familiar, unwelcome shadow, was making his usual circuit, a sneer playing on his lips even as he pretended not to notice Max's bristling fur. Lily, perched on the porch swing, felt a jolt of recognition. It wasn't just Max's unusual ferocity that caught her eye. It was a gleam of dark mother-of-pearl on Mr. Grumbles' tweed coat. Her breath hitched. There, on the lapel, glinting in the morning sun, was a button. Identical. The same intricate etched pattern, the subtle shimmer, the tiny scuff near the edge. It was the very button she and Max had unearthed near the old oak, the one from the evidence box. Max, sensing her heightened attention, let out a sharper, more insistent bark, tugging at his leash. Mr. Grumbles, startled by the sudden outburst, glanced down. His eyes, usually shifty, widened in alarm as they fell upon his own lapel. A flush crept up his neck. He fumbled, his thick fingers clumsy, and quickly shoved the offending button under the fabric of his coat, as if hoping the world hadn't noticed. His usual swagger evaporated, replaced by a nervous twitch. He hurried his pace, muttering under his breath, his eyes darting back to Lily's house with a new, panicked urgency. Lily exchanged a knowing glance with Max, a silent confirmation passing between them. The puzzle pieces were falling into place, and the picture wasn't pretty. "He's going to the mill, I just know it," Lily whispered, her eyes wide with the conviction that Max understood implicitly. The German shepherd nudged her hand with his wet nose, a low growl rumbling in his chest. "We have to follow him, Max. Papa needs us." Dusk was painting the sky in bruised purples and oranges as they slipped from the alley, shadows lengthening like grasping fingers. Lily clutched Max's scruff, her small frame a mere silhouette against the deepening twilight. Their footsteps were muffled by the soft dirt paths at the edge of town, Max's keen nose leading the way, tracing Mr. Grumble's scent. The air grew colder, carrying the damp smell of stagnant water from the creek that fed the mill. They kept to the cover of hedges and fences, Lily's heart thrumming a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Each rustle of leaves, every distant dog's bark, sent a fresh jolt of adrenaline through her. Max, ever watchful, kept his body between Lily and the more open stretches of road. The old mill loomed ahead, a skeletal structure against the last vestiges of light. Its unpainted boards were a patchwork of decay, and the large wooden wheel, once a symbol of industriousness, now hung askew, groaning softly in the breeze. A single, flickering light source emanated from a cracked window on the ground floor, casting dancing shadows that made the mill look alive, and terribly, terribly menacing. The mill's massive wooden door groaned, a low, drawn-out sound that echoed in the twilight. Max, ever vigilant, nudged it open with his snout, a silent invitation for Lily to slip inside. The air was thick, with the scent of old grain and damp earth, a musty perfume that clung to their clothes. Dust motes danced in the sparse beams of light, slicing through the grimy windows, illuminating the skeletal remains of forgotten machinery. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the scritch-scratch of unseen rodents and the frantic thump-thump of Lily's own heart. Then, a voice, low and raspy, drifted from deeper within the mill. "Mr. Grumbles." Lily pressed herself against a towering stack of burlap sacks, Max a warm, furry anchor beside her. He was talking to someone, his voice hushed but laced with a familiar irritation. Quote, "Didn't think I'd get away with it, eh? Foolish man, meddling where he shouldn't." Lily's breath hitched. Her dad. The words hung in the air, heavy and dark. Max's ears swiveled, every muscle tensed, mirroring her own growing unease. He knew too much. Mr. Grumbles continued, a sneer evident even in his hushed tone, about the accounts and the diversion. A chilling laugh followed, a dry, brittle sound that sent shivers down Lily's spine. The pieces, jagged and sharp, began to fall into place, forming a picture far more sinister than she could have imagined. The oppressive silence of the mill was suddenly shattered. Max, his tail thumping with barely contained excitement at their progress, bumped a stack of empty flour sacks. They toppled with a deafening crash, echoing through the cavernous space. Lily's heart leaped into her throat. A guttural snarl ripped through the air. Mr. Grumbles, his shadow, elongated and menacing in the dim light filtering through grimy windows, loomed around a towering stack of grain bags. "You little pests," he bellowed, his face a mottled purple. "Trying to steal from me, are we?" Lily didn't waste a second. "Run, Max," she whispered fiercely, tugging at his scruff. Max, sensing the danger, darted forward, weaving between dusty machinery and forgotten barrels. Mr. Grumbles, surprisingly agile for his bulk, lumbered after them, his heavy boots thudding on the wooden floor. They scrambled past the massive grinding stone, its rough surface a blur. Max let out a series of sharp, urgent barks, not of fear, but of direction. He was guiding her, his keen nose picking up the faintest scent of the outside. They squeezed through a narrow gap between a rusty conveyor belt and a pile of burlap sacks, the rough fabric scratching Lily's arm. Mr. Grumbles, too wide, got momentarily wedged. His frustrated roar spurred them onward. Max barked again, a high-pitched summons, leading her directly towards a small, unlatched door at the far end of the mill. With a final burst of adrenaline, Lily shoved it open, and they burst into the blessed evening air, leaving Mr. Grumbles, furious shouts echoing behind them. The mill's dust still clung to Lily's clothes, but the fear that had pricked her skin was now replaced by a steel resolve. Max nudged her hand, his warm muzzle a comforting weight. "We have to go, Max," she whispered, her voice surprisingly steady. "We have to tell the judge." The image of the crooked ledger, the strange deliveries, and the hushed conversations she'd overheard solidified her decision. Her father wouldn't lie, not about something this important. Side by side, girl and dog marched down Elm Street. Max's gait was purposeful, his tail held high, a silent testament to their shared conviction. Lily, usually shy around strangers, met the gazes of passers-by with an uncharacteristic directness. The courthouse, a formidable stone edifice at the end of the street, loomed larger with every step. Its grand columns and heavy oak doors seemed to swallow the morning light. A flutter of unease stirred in Lily's stomach as they pushed open one of the massive doors. The air inside was cool and hushed, smelling faintly of old paper and polish. Echoes bounced off the high ceilings as their footsteps resonated on the marble floor. A stern-faced clerk behind a tall counter looked up, her expression uninviting. Lily clutched Max's fur, her bravado wavering slightly. But her eyes remained fixed on the sign pointing towards Judge Thorne's chambers. This was it. There was no turning back. The courtroom air hung thick with anticipation, each cough and rustle amplifying the tension. Mr. Grumbles, his face a mask of feigned innocence, addressed the judge. "Your Honor, this young lady's claims are entirely fabricated. A wild imagination, nothing more." Lily's heart sank, a cold wave of doubt washing over her. She gripped her father's hand, feeling the tremor in her own. Grumble's smug expression twisted her stomach. He was making her out to be a liar, an unreliable child. Suddenly, a blur of golden-brown fur launched itself. Max, until now a silent, watchful presence, sprang onto the low railing separating the spectators' gallery from the judge's bench. Before anyone could react, he nudged the judge's hand with his wet nose, then, with surprising precision, pushed the judge's fingers toward Mr. Grumbles's coat lapel. The judge, startled, looked down. His eyes widened, fixing on something small and metallic. A single, iridescent button, unlike any other, gleamed from the dark fabric, catching the fluorescent lights. It was the same unique button Lily had described, the one from her missing locket, now sewn crudely onto Grumbles's threadbare tweed. A gasp rippled through the gallery. Truth and reunion. Lily, her heart thumping like a drum, stepped forward. Her small hand, clutching a tarnished brass button, trembled slightly. "This belongs to Mr. Grumbles," she declared, her voice surprisingly steady as she held it up for the judge to see. It was identical to the one found at the scene, a distinctive etched lion's head. Mr. Grumbles's ruddy face drained of color. He spluttered, "Preposterous! A child's fantasy." The judge, a stern woman with sharp eyes, leaned forward. "Is that so, Mr. Grumbles? Because that button matches the one found at the scene of the incident. And if this young lady has another identical one, well, it paints a rather damning picture, wouldn't you agree?" Her gaze, usually impassive, hardened. "Mr. Grumbles, I suggest you tell us the truth, and you tell it now." Cornered, his bravado crumbling, Mr. Grumbles whimpered, All right. I did it. I took him. I just wanted his invention for myself. He's in the old mill, tied up, but he's fine. He's fine, I swear." His words tumbled out in a panicked rush. Within the hour, the old mill buzzed with activity. Lily, Max trotting faithfully beside her, pushed through the crowd. Her father, disheveled but unharmed, was being untied. He looked up, his eyes meeting hers, and a wave of relief washed over his face. He extended his arms, and Lily launched herself into his embrace. Max nudged his hand, a soft whine escaping him, and then licked Lily's tear-streaked cheek. The lingering scent of dust and damp wood faded as her father's familiar warmth enveloped her.